Hey everybody, it's Alan, and today I'm going to repot this Trident maple. It's just beginning to emerge with a new growth, and I may be a day or two a little too late, but I'm not going to root prune it. I purchased this tree at the Bonsai Societies of Florida State Convention over Memorial Day weekend, and it was in this plastic training pot. It's also in a fairly rocky bonsai soil, so it was not growing in organic mix. And I have really done nothing to it except bring it home and give it some shade. I did try to take some cuttings, but it was already the end of May, and I got nothing, zero. So my plan on this tree is this is probably a sacrifice branch right here because it's too low. And then this much thicker growth up top is going to come off, and I'm going to save this as the leader. So the tree will be these two guys right here and this lower stuff here. So I think I'm going to take the cuttings from some of this more elongated growth. Like I said last year, except for taking the cuttings, I did nothing, so it's been allowed to just grow unchecked. I just wanted to make it stronger. Trident maples this far south, I live in zone 10 in Florida, are very tricky. Gainesville maybe, but I'm way far south than Gainesville. And in fact, Gainesville isn't even zone 10 anymore. Gainesville is smack dab in the middle of zone 9. So, this is a test of the emergency bonsai growing system. Will a Trident maple live in zone 10? And of course this one seems super healthy. It's got buds all over the place. It's already popping with new growth. But it's only here a year. I think I purchased it from a guy who was out of like Louisiana. So it's only been subject to Florida conditions for a year. And normally it takes 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 years for them to grow themselves to death. The problem with growing northern trees this far south is not the heat and humidity of the summer, it's the lack of cold in the winter. Of course, this winter it got mighty cold. We had numerous days in the low 30s, and at the end of January we had record cold of 25 for 2 nights in a row. And I brought all my trees in. I just did a video where a lot of trees got damaged from either not bringing them in and being hit by the cold, or bringing them in and then drying out because I couldn't get them out of the garage fast enough. This puppy just stayed out. And because it wants that cold. The more cold, the better. In fact, I had even thought of throwing ice cubes on the soil. However, that's too much work. So I've got my pot and a whole bunch of used wire that's sitting there. I've got another training pot that's a little bit bigger. It's virtually the same thing. I suppose I can go like this. Not that much bigger. And I have my own brand of potting soil, bonsai soil. And it's not exactly the same as what the tree is in now, but I think it'll be fine. So that's the trick, is to take this guy out of the pot, virtually no root pruning, and then put him in this larger pot. And then let it just continue to grow on, and then take some cuttings. Within the next day or two, maybe even this afternoon, take some cuttings, something like that. I'll scrape the cambium, and hopefully with the brand new flush of growth, that the cutting will have the energy to produce some roots. I really think that the cuttings that I took at the end of May, basically 1st of June last year, it was just too late in the season. So I'm going to pause and then get started repotting this guy. Poof! Whoa! So I had a viewer who said that he was having trouble seeing the plant material because of the stucco. So there's my hardboard, which is way too small, but is that better? I don't know. And I also changed my mind with the pot. I really don't think that putting it into a pot that's only maybe, you know, a quarter of an inch wider when you think about it, that just makes no sense to me. So I took another quote-unquote container, and this is actually a food container, meat, ground beef, 70% lean, family pack. Although, you know, these are actually recyclable. Anyway, I just poked some holes. As you can see, holes with an awl. And that will give it a much larger pot to grow into. And I also had, where did I put those guys? I had some pieces of pavers that I cut to act as weights. And I had them on there too. But now I realize that the thing was wired in by the person that I purchased it from. So I've got to crawl around the tripod without knocking it over. So I've just got my gin pliers, and I'm just going to undo that wire. There we go. Let's get it out of the pot. It should just come right out. So let's see what the roots look like. Oh yeah, pretty healthy. Well, that's interesting. He put white macrame screen on the base of the plant when the pot itself has screens integrated into the plastic. So I don't know why in the world we did that. And with the new pot, there's absolutely no reason for those, because the drainage is all the way around the edge. So I guess I am going to do some root pruning just to get that piece of plastic out of there. All the drainage on this new pot is just all the way around the edge. So I'm not going to cut any of the roots though. You know, I'm happy that it has grown like it has. And it is certainly healthy enough on the bottom, but I don't want to really disrupt any roots. For the first couple years, I just wanted to gain some strength. And, you know, in theory, get used to being in Florida. Well, see, that's the problem with these trees, is their adaptability. And almost any tree, the adaptability of a tree to go and live in areas that are much different than their natural habitat is hard. It's just hard. Trees just, I think I'm going to take a little tiny bit off of the edge to keep circling roots or squared off roots from forming on the surface. And then pour the soil that I brought from the other pot. And this soil here is about 1/4 inch lava rock, which is this stuff here, which is almost impossible to find. I have to drive about 100 miles to buy it. So when I do, I buy bunches, like 4 or 5 bags at a time. And it still needs to be sifted a little bit, but it's great stuff. And then the other half of it is Chattahoochee rock, which is basically like putting very tiny little bowling balls into your soil. However, in the heat and humidity and the rainfall, and sometimes it can rain every single day for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days in the rainy season, which begins in June. You've got to have that drainage. And that's basically my bonsai soil, just a lava rock, which is porous, so it retains some moisture, and the Chattahoochee rock. So it needs a tremendous amount of watering, but when we get Mother Nature giving us, quote-unquote, too much water, it's well drained enough that the roots don't rot. So if you're up north more, you probably don't need that Chattahoochee rock because it drains too well. And as a bonsai artist, we all end up with our favorite mix. So no one can tell you what your bonsai mix should consist of because they're all different. The one thing that it cannot have is very fine dust. That will destroy your trees because it just clogs up all the air in the soil, and the roots need that drainage. They need that new oxygen that's coming down from the air. I'm trying to get some dust here. To show you. This is why we sift our soil. Okay. So here's some dust. Basically sand. That in your bonsai soil is deadly. So anyway, I didn't bring enough, but I think I'm done for now. I like the size of the pot. You notice I stuck it directly in the middle of the pot too, because at this stage it's just growth, development, get it stronger. And then when it's time to style, if it's still alive, then I will put it, the 1/3, the rule of thirds, where the tree should be either 1/3 over here or 1/3 over there. But right now, middle of the pot, I will fill it with more soil, and then it's going to go right back where it was, which is fairly dense shade all day long, and then some sun, but it's not until after the angle of the sun is low enough in the sky as the sun is setting that it gets really full sun. So that's not that drastic full sun like you get at noon. And then we're just going to have to see what happens. I'm also growing hornbeams, American hornbeam, which is about the same as these guys as far as their range. I'm about at least 100 miles south of the range of hornbeams. So they've been tricky too. So anyway, once you get into it and you've got success with a lot of your different trees, I find that then it's time to expand your collection and see if you can grow some things that are not quote-unquote supposed to grow where you live. So thanks for watching. That's it for me. Still not quite sure what to do with the background. I'm thinking of totally changing where I do my videos. And yeah, good luck with that. I'm just lazy. And I'm going to be 70 in June, and I have a left leg that doesn't want to move, so I'm good. About an hour's worth of work, and I'm back inside relaxing. So anyway, thanks for watching. If you're curious to see if this thing lives, subscribe and hit the notification bell so every time I give you an update on this puppy, you can check it out. And now I guess if it dies, I have to do a video on that too. Oh well, it died, guys. Anyway, I'm going to do everything I can to keep it from dying. And right now, more soil, get it back where it belongs. And then I think I may take some cuttings a little later today. And hopefully that new burst of sap through the parts that I'm going to use as cuttings will give it enough energy to root. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.